Hey guys, today we'll do something different. I have a short episode with Sean McVeigh. He's the lead singer, guitar player, and writer of the band King Buffalo. I want to talk to you about their new album that just came out, but I'm going to play on the back end of this Sean's original episode, which came out about 2 months ago, just in case you didn't hear it. He's a really great guy. He's got a good story. The band's got a good story, and they work super hard. And if you're like psychedelic rock, they're a band you need to listen to. So enjoy the episodes. Thanks for listening, and take care of yourself and have a wonderful day. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We interrupt your coronavirus paying attention to coronavirus for something positive and happy. I'm with Sean McVeigh. He is the lead singer, writer, and guitar player of King Buffalo. Sean was on the show about 2 months ago.
Yeah, I think so, around there. Yeah.
Sean was on here 2 months ago for his proper formal interview, but the band has a new album out called Dead Star. It's a great record, and I wanted to turn you guys onto it and let you know about it. Again, King Buffalo is a stoner rock band out of Rochester, New York. They have 2 albums and 2 EPs to date. Their third album, called Dead Star, is coming out. It's a really good record. And again, I wanted to talk about it with Sean today and turn you guys onto it. So you guys have been doing this since 2013. 5 releases in 7 years is really good, man. Congratulations.
Well, thanks.
Well, especially in today's environment, it's not like, you got labels throwing shit tons of money at you to like, hey, get in the studio, make another record. That's very, that's awesome, man. What was your motivation to put another record out, that being the case?
Well, I mean, making records is kind of fun, as much as it's sort of like pulling like open, surgery on yourself. But no, it's fun. And, we also want to keep stuff sort of coming for, fans of ours. You don't want to, don't want to leave them like bored on material. Want to try to keep new content coming out for people. And it was a good time to do it.
I feel you. It's a great record, man. We'll talk about it in a minute, but it's some really cool stuff there. It's a little different than some of the other albums. 6 tracks, 40 minutes, long songs as usual. Was there anything particular going on in your life when you wrote the record that sort of influenced your writing or the theme of the record, or is there any type of message in the album in particular?
I mean, yeah, it's at the time of writing this record, we're living in a pretty like dystopian, dystopian.
I think that's the
time.
Word. Yeah.
And it's especially obviously now with COVID-19, it's a pretty stressful time to be alive, and just feeling pretty pissed off, and so a lot of the record is sort of a reflection on sort of like, what the hell are we doing as a society / country, and sort of a dissatisfaction with the way things are, and some of it's sort of a call to arms coming to grips with where we're at.
Yeah. It's cool as I'm listening to this, because I'm old as dirt. I can remember going back, like, I don't know, 30 years ago or 40 years ago, listening to interviews of musicians of that day, and they were saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's art's always a reflection of,
Yeah, we need to wake up. The world is crazy. People, and it's so cool that's what, people turn to music to get that and then unite everybody behind that, which is great. The wonderful thing about music. Where did you record this?
We recorded it in our space in the Main Street Armory in Rochester, which is where we've recorded all of our records. We did all the engineering ourselves. I produced and engineered it. But I did, just to meet the deadlines that we could have it in time for this upcoming tour. We hired our sound guy, Grant Husselman, to do the mixing on the record. But you did a great job. And then our Bernie Matthews did the mastering.
I'll tell you what, it's really good. The mastering and the mixing on this is fantastic. I mean, they did a great job. Really.
Yeah, we were really stoked with the jobs that they did. It was definitely, it was the kind of thing I wanted to mix, but it was a bit like I was kind of going crazy. I was too close to it, and I was losing my mind. And in order to meet the deadline, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I was just too close to it. I needed a break. So we were like, Grant, can you turn this around? And he did. And he
That's cool.
So.
Because I remember your work ethic is like, boom, first class. And I know you're obsessive when you do stuff. And like, I think we talked about, you'll like work 20, you'll just work around the clock to get stuff done, which is, you got to do it sometimes, but it sounds good. It sounds great, actually.
Cool. Well, thank you, Grant.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Grant. Was there anything different outside of having those guys work on the mixing and mastering? Was there anything different about either the recording process or the production of this record?
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a bit different. We wanted to do so the whole idea was to make an EP, and when we approach EPs, we kind of like to get a little weirder than we would on, say, a more traditional full length. And so we were trying to come up with ways to sort of make it a little more different than what we'd done in the past. The whole record is in a alternate tuning that I kind of came up with for the record.
Oh, wow.
It's not anything crazy. It's not anything that interesting, but it is a different tuning than I've usually used, which made me play certain things a little bit different.
What was the tuning, man?
Well, it was just D standard, but what would have been the F, so that the fourth string was tuned up a whole step. So it'd be like the equivalent of so if we'll treat it like it's E, right? Like E standard. So basically just take that G string and tune it up a whole step.
Okay. So
that's the shape of the tuning. And then I just dropped the whole thing down a whole step.
Okay. So everything was dropped down a whole step. So, and then except the G string, which was lifted up.
But no, the G string just stayed the same. Everything dropped down a whole step but the G string.
Okay. So it was DBC. Is that what it was?
No. Well, going from the lowest string up, it would be D, G, C, G, A, D.
Holy shit. I can't even get my head around this, writing it down, let alone playing it. How the hell did you play? Have you played in that tuning before? Like, how do you?
Well, I had a couple like little acoustic things that I was messing around with in that tuning, because it was easier to have more open strings. Like the shape I was in, I could have, it just made more sense. I couldn't quite have my fingers. I wouldn't be able to play the part as easily. So I was like, oh, what if I just tune that string up, and then boom, problem solved.
That's wild.
And then I was like, well, so Dead Star was sort of the earliest idea for the record.
Okay.
That song, and that was in that tuning. And then I was like, well, why don't I just use that? And then Echo of a Waning Star came after that, and that was really reliant on that tuning. You can't really do it any other way. And then I was like, well, why don't I just do the whole record in that tuning? I could, rather than have two songs that I have to, change tuning for one song here and there live, I could just have the whole record, and it'll be a little more easy, and it'll cause me to play these other songs differently. And so
that's cool, man. So when you're on the road, you can have two separate guitars, obviously.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because you're pretty utilitarian. I remember that. Yeah. As of now, the plan is yes, but I mean, we bounce between tunings occasionally on live anyways, because a lot of our stuff is in drop C. The rest of it's in sort of D standard. But what I found is when I was used two guitars, okay, I'll play the drop C stuff, pick up the guitar that's in D standard. I would have to retune it before the song anyways, because it had been sitting there for 20 minutes, right.
Getting hot or cold or whatever. So I'd have to retune it anyway. So it was like, well, why don't I just, rather than switch the actual guitar, I just retune the guitar, and I have to do it anyway. So I don't know. We don't have a guitar tech. I'm doing everything myself. So maybe I'll have to, maybe I won't.
Well, also you probably have your set up. So you're doing a bunch of songs from the new record, and then, whatever, to make it easy. So you're not like changing every other song. That would be,
yeah. We try to keep it a little more, streamlined, but.
Well, cool, man. Did you solo in that alternative key as well?
Yeah. There's not a lot of solos on this record.
No, but there's just some basic riffage.
Yeah. And so, I would everything, the whole record is in that tuning, except for one lick in Eta Carine, which I've now been struggling to like play it in the alternate tuning. And I think I'm starting to get it, but it's not quite the same, but it's close.
Right on, man. You got a tour coming up, a pretty big tour coming up. I'm assuming you're going to be playing most of the record, promoting a lot of it?
We'll certainly be playing some of it. Yeah. Some of it will be difficult to pull off live, like particularly some of the softer numbers without the added instrumentation. Like we don't have a keyboard player to play the organ parts and, the electric piano stuff. So we'll see. Some stuff might get played. Some stuff won't. You have to just come to the show and see what.
That's right. Everybody come to the show. Come to King Buffalo. Let me tell you where to find out the tours. And just to give you a little heads up, it's mostly the northern or the north half of the country: Vermont, Massachusetts, New York, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, some states in Canada, Seattle, Portland, and swinging down LA, then back to the Midwest. Go to kingbuffalo.com on the tour page and you'll find all this stuff. He's got all the shows here. All righty. Let's talk about a couple of the tracks that I really dig. And let me pull them up on my iTunes at the same time. So Echo of a Warning Star, that was a great song to open the album. It was pretty different from a lot of the other songs too.
Yeah. So it should have been like track 2 or 3 for you. Unless I missed it. Do you have Red Star Part 1 and 2? Did I not send you everything?
I do, but they're not in. No,
they're not in the right order.
Right. Okay. So it's track. Okay. Yeah. Because I got the early edition. I got the advanced. Yeah. I got the files. You sent me the files. Oh, sorry about it. Yeah. It was the first song. It's a great song, even if it's not an opening song. Yeah. It was like really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly is a lot different than other stuff we've done, but that was kind of the whole mission statement for the EP, and which made it a little difficult and scary, but also like kind of rewarding.
Yeah. But you're into, as you've alluded to, you're into pushing the envelope as a musician, and you're not going to grow unless you change things. You can't do the same thing over and over again and expect growth to happen, right?
Oh, for sure. And we can't write the same song over and over again. Even if we tried to, it's still like it's pretty difficult, like recreate sort of the atmosphere from 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, and like, oh, we'll just do it again. It doesn't really work that way,
Yeah.
We're completely different people than we were 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, man. Hopefully everybody is. So I want to talk to you about so where is Eta Carine in is that the last song? Where is that positioned?
That's second to last song.
Okay. And so then Red Star comes after that, or Dead Star?
So the actual track listing is Red Star 1 and 2, Echo of a Waning Star, Ecliptic, Eta Carine, Dead Star.
Perfect. That makes a lot of sense because Dead Star is a great song to end with. Okay, so let's talk about Eta Carine. First of all, let me just spell that for you guys listening. It's Eta Carine, and I wrote it 8 like ATE because I couldn't. But it's Eta ETA Carine CARINAE. And Sean, why don't you just tell people what that is, because it's kind of cool.
So obviously there's the big theme throughout the record of sort of space and celestial things, and Eta Carine is a massive star. I think it's one of the biggest known stars in that scientists have been able to discover. And it's just sort of a fascinating thing. It kind of baffles them because it keeps having these explosions that normally every other star that has those same types of explosions ends up dying, but this one somehow keeps regenerating and growing, and it's a big intergalactic mystery.
Yeah, man, that's a good song. It's a good premise to write a song after. Actually, I had some questions about the song. You got some complicated time signatures in there, right?
Yeah, the whole thing pretty much is in 5/8, which is a first for us, and it was pretty interesting to write.
What made you do that? Because I couldn't figure it out. I kept trying. I was like 1, 2, 3. I was trying to catch the beat. Okay, so it's in 5/8. What made you do that? Because that is really difficult to write.
Well, so I had that like I was just kind of messing around, and I had that little lick, that dun 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 dun, and I just had that little block of rhythmic riff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was trying to play it, and we were trying to jam and like play it as a song, and it was pretty difficult, like to the point where we could just do it for like 30 40 seconds at a time before we'd completely fall apart. So it's like, okay, like I guess, and you can't really jam in that time signature,
it's really, I mean, unless you're all like, I don't know, as what do you call it, like a Rush, if you're all like those guys, you can't.
Yeah, but I think even still, like when you're in a time signature, you have to like, to know, for everyone to know when to change. It's not like Jam into the Blues. Everyone knows where the changes are, like,
yes,
it's, you can't really do that. So we would play it for, a minute and a half, and there wouldn't be a lot of changes. And so finally I took the riff home and I just sort of mapped the whole thing out. I just kind of took like the drum groove that Scott had, and it's like, okay, well now I'll like map this out and make it a whole song. And in the course of that, I think there was like I took a little break at one point, and I was just noodling around, and that's when I came up for the second half of the song. And I was like, I wonder if we'd be able to get to that time signature from 5/8 and have it to 4/4 from 5/8 in a totally different tempo, and have it feel kind of somewhat normal, but also big change. And I think it ended up working out. I brought it to the guys, like I said, made a little demo of it, brought it to the guys, and I was like, is this like a little too ridiculous? And they're like, I don't know, maybe we'll see. And I don't know, it worked out.
No, I think it's great, because when you do settle into that 4/4, you got a really nice groove going on with it. So I thought it worked really good. I would imagine that one took a while to put together.
As far as kind of, I mean, so this was the whole, again, back to the whole like doing things different for this EP. We tracked this different than we have like any other record. Like everything was sort of piecemeal, more of the traditional sort of multi-tracked way.
That was an omen.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? That sounded like? It sounded like those things that turn around. I don't know what they're called. I don't know. Little kids play with them, and spinners.
It was a stack of change, actually, is what it was.
You win.
Yeah. So yeah, everything was sort of piecemeal. Like I'd have the scratch guitar parts, and everyone would play to those, and then we'd I'd overdub the guitar and everything. So we did it sort of the more commercial sort of record production sort of way for this, just because some of those songs didn't really lend, playing an acoustic guitar with a full drum set isn't really easy to like jam that way. And same thing with Echo of a Waning Star was when I wrote at home. I had the vocal melody and the chord progression and the full instrumentation, and it was just like, okay, like this is sort of the general idea of a drum part. I was thinking, can you do this? And this is the chord progression, Dan. So you can play a bass line in this chord progression, like that sort of thing. But Red Star was the only one that was really fully written as a jam.
That was a really, it's a great, that Edda Karina is a great song. I really liked it, man. You did it. Like I said, I had a question here. I said, I wouldn't call it a prog tune by a long shot, but it's kind of prog rhythmically, and it sounds great,
Yeah, I mean, we're all big fans of, cool prog rock bands and stuff. So, I mean, while we know we're not virtuosic level players that can like shred like Dream Theater, but, we wanted to sort of, again, we wanted to try to push ourselves to do something different for us.
Great song, man. You did a great job on it. I'm really good. I mean, I was really impressed. I was like, holy shit, how the hell did you write this? Okay. Is there is like a favorite song that you have on there?
Honestly, my favorite song is Ecliptic, which is the instrumental sort of synth track, sort of ode to John Carpenter. Yeah, besides that, probably maybe Red Star Part 2 is really fun. Again, that's sort of the most sort of heaviest we've been as a band, which is really fun to play.
Yeah, that's cool. Is there anything that you're looking for, any of these tracks that you're looking forward in particular to playing on tour or not playing on tour?
Well, we haven't quite figured out what we will and won't play. We're still sorting out, like, again, we're just a 3-piece. So especially like some of those mellower songs, Echo of a Waning Star and Dead Star, have a lot of layers You know, they might not start with a lot of layers, but they end with a lot of layers. So it's kind of tough, but definitely looking forward to Ida Karane live. Red Star 1 and 2 should be fun. And who knows, we might figure out something to do with Ecliptic. I don't know. We'll see.
That's awesome. It'd be great if you could somehow do Ida Karane and followed by Dead Star like it is on the record. I don't know how the hell you'd make that acoustic transition without, maybe you'd have to loop that into the first. There's no, I mean, even if you had a guitar, an acoustic wrapped around, you know, on you, it seems like it'd be really tough to make that switch that quick.
Yeah. You know, who knows? Maybe someday we'll do like the full, like the Wall experience and have
well, that's what
people come out of the woodwork for it. And
yeah, man. Sort of thing. I hope so. Why not, man? And let me just tell people where they can get the record. If you want the vinyl, go to kingbuffalo.com. And if you want to stream it, it's going to be on all major streaming sites, you know, Apple and Amazon or wherever else you stream. Anything else that you want people to take away from the record or that you want to talk about with the record?
Not really. I mean, interpret it however you want. But there is definitely a theme to it. I think it's pretty obvious when you listen through to it. But yeah, I don't know. Come see us live. You said this was airing a little bit later.
Into March.
Yeah. So
the tour starts March 19th. So this will be dropping like, I think the 26th or something like that. So tomorrow night, if you're in Wisconsin, or tonight, if you're in Michigan, in Mac's Bar in Lansing, and tomorrow night in Milwaukee, and then Winnipeg. God, those are cold freaking places, man.
Well, hopefully not by end of March, but
yeah. Well, you're even Rochester, so it's probably not going to be. It's probably nothing for you.
No, it's actually pretty nice out right now. We got like 45 degrees. It's pretty great.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you a lot of luck with the record, Sean. If you're not familiar with King Buffalo, please check them out. They're a really good band. Sean's a great guy. Go back and listen to Sean's interview. It's Sean McVeigh, Sean McVeigh, McVay. And check out King Buffalo and check out all their stuff. I mean, they've got, like I said, 3 EPs and now in 3 LPs. You know, I was partial to the first EP was, I mean, all the Orion's a great record. Longing to Be the Mountain is really cool. Repeater, I mean, all this stuff is really good. If you like great stoner rock bands, and I hate to say stoner because that implies like you got to smoke a bunch of weed to do that. They're just a really good psychedelic rock band. So let me just say it does. I mean, it doesn't always imply, it feels like that implies that it doesn't.
I mean, it does. It's which is funny because we're not really like connoisseurs, you know.
Most guys aren't. Do you ever heard of Greenleaf?
I've heard of Greenleaf. Yeah, from Europe, right? Yeah,
from Sweden. Yeah. So I had Tommy Halapa, who's the guy he's you in Greenleaf, right? You know, songwriter, singer, guitarist, and before that he had another band, Dozer, which is a really great band. Mm-hmm. So I said to him, you know, your band's called Greenleaf. Do you guys smoke a lot of weed? He goes, we've never smoked weed in our life. None of us here have. You know, they're all in Sweden. They're all like young guys. They have families. They go fishing together. Like you go outdoors all the time. You're an outdoors guy, right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing, except in Sweden. And that's so funny that you're called Greenleaf because like that's the epitome of stoner rock, man. And then when I asked him, I said, how did you come up with the lyrics in one song? He goes, man, most of our lyrics is quite often we just open up a magazine and just pull shit out,
really?
Pull stuff out of there. I was like, oh my God. So it's so funny how like, yeah, that stoner, that stoner label is just sort of like, you know, maybe it's associated with the music, but quite often with the bands, it's not. And I've had several stoner rock bands on that have names like that, specifically from Europe. And like most of them are like, nah, you know, maybe once in a while, or when we were kids, we smoked a little bit, but you know, you got to be sober, man. You can't get shit done, especially nowadays in the music business.
No,
man.
Well, it's funny, so especially like as our band sort of, you know, grown, matured, you know, like now I'm playing synth, I'm changing a bunch of like different patches on my pedal board. I'm trying to sing, and for a while I was using a vocal effect pedal that I was also changing presets. So I was like just tap dancing like crazy, and someone's like, "Oh, do you want to smoke before a show?" I'm like, "If I do that, like, this show is not happening."
Yeah,
like,
how do you navigate all that shit?
Like I can't. You know, I feel like like I'm manning the helms of the Enterprise or something up there. I can't, so it's like, no, maybe I'll see you after the show, but I can't, like, no way.
I don't know. I had a guy one time, I'm not gonna say his name. And he booked an 8 a.m. interview in LA. And he says, hey, Craig, do you mind if I smoke a joint before I come on your show? And I said, dude, I can't even manage my own life. Like, don't ask me to manage yours. I don't care what you do. But God bless you if you could do that, because I couldn't, like, go on an interview and have a conversation with anyone.
No, I'd be going back to bed is what I'd be doing.
And I don't even think I could smoke a whole joint, to be honest with you. I know I can't, I would be like just completely useless. Yeah, I'd be in bed or something, and then you're in bed and you're like, you don't even know what's going on. You're like, where the hell why have I been in bed? So there's like not for me anyway. There's like no upside to that. Anyway, the point is, I really would love everybody to go check out the new record by King Buffalo. Support Sean and the band. It's called Dead Star. It's a great record. Check out their whole catalog. Go to kingbuffalo.com, sign up. There's a place you can enter your email. These guys are really cool. And if you didn't listen to Sean's interview the first time out, please go back and listen to it again. In fact, I think I'll put out your interview again, maybe the afternoon of this, so it'll be congruent. And he's a really good guy, very smart guy, really good musician. He's got a good story, and it's a hardworking band. And this guy's really bright. So, check them out. Anything else you'd like to say about the record, or anything else before we...
No, come, hopefully we'll see you at some of the shows. We are working with the promoters and everything, obviously, with the COVID-19. So do keep an eye out on social media and the website as far as any potential changes to the tour dates. As of now, we're planning on everything going as per business as usual. But, obviously we're working with everyone to make sure everyone's safe and stuff like that.
Yeah, please wear rubber gloves if you're going to go grab the band members.
We probably won't shake your hands, but we'll say that.
It was really funny. I was at REO Speedwagon because I'm buddies with Dave Amato. So we went to, my wife and I, he was really nice. We went to the concert, and we're, I guess like the little VIP thing afterwards, we're just hanging out, and everybody's rushing him, and they're like grabbing him. He's like, no. He goes, I don't know you. Yeah, it was like, he's like, no. We'll do an elbow bump. They're like, fist bump. He goes, no, elbow.
Man.
And I mean, I get it. You're like, you don't know these people, and it's not even like knowing them. Nobody knows what the hell's going on, someone coughs on you or something like that, and he's going to the next town, he doesn't want to give you anything, so.
No, it's funny, a quick story.
Yeah.
I once had a guy, after a show, I run to the bathroom, I had to take a leak, guy walks in behind me, finishes before me, walks right out without washing his hands. I come out and he's like, wait, you were in the band? I was like, yeah. And he's like puts his hand out to shake my hand. I'm just like, oh, I know you didn't wash your hands.
You should have said that too. I was next to you. You didn't wash your hands.
No, I totally wussed out, and I shook it anyways. And then I immediately just walked back in the bathroom and washed my hands like forever, just immediately. But it was just like, that's the thing. You don't know, like people's personal hygiene,
Oh, dude, I would have been like, dude, you got to go back and wash your hands, and then I'll shake your hand. Seriously, I guess, there's no way I would have done that. Just like, even fuck coronavirus, just in general, the guy just is holding his junk, pissing all over the place, and he's going to shake your hand. Nah, I don't think so.
I pretty funny.
Appreciate the attention, but we'll do an elbow bump.
totally wussed out. I didn't.
Yeah, but you got to figure the guy who's taking a leak and not even washing his hands, what else is he doing?
Yeah, no, totally. And
right? How you do one thing is how you do everything, right?
Yeah, it makes you sort of look at everything else in the world a little differently. Like just like, who touched that?
Are you in general like a bit of a germphobe?
No. I mean, I consider myself like clean, and
right.
I wash my hands all the time, do stuff like that. And I if someone, I don't want anyone to like cough on me, but I wouldn't consider.
Don't cough on Sean when you see King Buffalo, please. That's a pet peeve of his.
I mean, it's just, I think anyone's, but
I know it was really funny, man. I saw this thing on social media. It said, "This is your worst nightmare." So it's an Asian guy on the corner, a bunch of Asian people on the corner, and the one guy has a mask on. So he's really coughing, and he pulls his mask off, and he hawks up the biggest loogie ever, and he spits it on the floor, right? And he puts his mask back on, and right after that, apparently there was a massive puddle. The car drives by, and wherever he spit, the whole crowd is covered with this crap that he just spit in there, plus all the water. So it was, and then I've seen like memes of video games, and it's like kill him, and it's a guy like coughing on like somebody, instead of like pulling out the guns or doing some martial arts. It's like, so it's, it makes for funny stuff, but yeah, be careful out there and be kind and courteous to your local musicians and everybody else, man. We're all in this shit together. So stay healthy, man. Well, listen, it was always great talking to you. You're a super cool guy. I love your music. Thank you for making music and great music and continuing to do it. You're always welcome back on the show. I hope the tour is a success. I hope the new record is a success. And everybody, one more time, please go out and check out the new record by King Buffalo. It's called Dead Star. Go to kingbuffalo.com if you want to get the vinyl. Otherwise, it's available wherever shows or wherever you get your music normally streamed. And go to the website, sign up for the email list, and go check out the band in concert. Really good guys. Go say hello to Sean and tell him you heard him on the show and how much you like his music. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show. It's always
Thank you for having me, man.
Anytime, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels with your friends. Thanks again to Sean McVeigh for spending time with us. Please go out and support the band King Buffalo. Listen to the new record and all the other records they have. Make sure you go to sign up to our newsletter list at everyonelovesguitar.com so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, and so is cleanliness while we're at it. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Sean, good luck with the new record, man. I hope it goes great.
Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it.
You got it. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And I've got one of my favorite guitar players, one of my favorite bands, who is Sean McVeigh. He's the founding member, guitarist from King Buffalo. They're a great stoner rock band. Is the cat? I hate to say category. Is that like, they're like a really good psychedelic blues rock band, but is that what everybody calls you, stoner rock? I hate to.
We get called a lot of stuff. It's funny. People think we're all, we get compared to a lot of bands. So that's a good thing. And
yeah.
We think too,
so here's the deal. If you like hard rock, old school, fuzz, good sound, good tunes, blues, psychedelic, listen to King Buffalo. And you should, because they're one of my favorite bands, and I want you to check them out. All righty, a couple of quick messages. Number one, thank you, Nick DeSalvo, for connecting us. Nick DeSalvo, of course, lead guitar player from Elder, another great band. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe, and you can subscribe to the show on YouTube and check out the actual audio as well, subscription. All right, Sean McVeigh grew up in a small town in upstate New York called Scottsville, which is just outside of Rochester. Played trumpet in the school band and sang in the school choir. After high school, he attended SUNY Fredonia, that's State University of New York or Fredonia, as a sound recording technology major. His focus at that point shifted a little bit away from guitar. Would still practice and play guitar, but he became more interested in production and got into a lot of different styles of music outside of guitar-based stuff, which is pretty common for most professional musicians. Formed King Buffalo in 2013. They initially formed, got a really cool story. They initially formed the band to fulfill some tour date obligations that another band that Sean was in had already booked, but they couldn't do. The band had some fallout, so they had to make up these gigs. So what happened was, instead of learning the songs they were supposed to play from the band that imploded, they started jamming, writing their own stuff, and within a month they had their own demo because they had something that was working. They hit the road immediately, and that first tour was them and All Them Witches. I know them from somewhere. I've got some of their stuff piling into Sean's uncle's RV that he had lent to him. Since then, King Buffalo's released 2 albums, 2 EPs, and they're about to release another EP and go on tour real soon. And we'll talk about that. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I read this in your bio. Your mom randomly buys you a guitar at age 15. And I like what you said. You're like really respectful. Like, the moms always know what they're doing or something like that. It was like a very cool comment. What was that about?
Well, it's kind of funny. Like, I never had asked for a guitar or anything, but, she knew I was into music. I was always like the kid, when I was really little, banging on pots and pans, just singing, being obnoxious, and my uncle had a guitar. And so every time we'd go over to his house, I would just be I was interested in it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, I'd try to play it. And, every time I was around one, I was like, that seems like a fun thing. And yeah, when I was 15, that was my Christmas present that year, was that Ibanez beginners combo of that really goofy, the GAX 70 or whatever, electric guitar, and that tiny little 8-inch speaker practice amp. And then, it changed my life. I went from like playing video games, being like a normal, kid in the rural suburbs, to now I'm spending 5 hours a day playing guitar to whatever record and CD I wanted to.
So it was pretty immediate as soon as you got it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember as soon as I got it, I'm like going through all the knobs. Like I plugged it in right away, going through all the knobs and buttons on it. And it had, the overdrive channel on the little crappy practice amp. And I just like turned everything up and I hit that button and I was like, oh man, it sounded like Hendrix, Like, I thought it was so cool. And then I'm sure my mom and my brother were just like, oh my God. But
that's really cool, fun. Man.
Yeah.
And nobody in the family, your uncle played guitar, but nobody like did music as a career, right?
No. And even like my uncle dabbled. He was like a hobbyist, like he wasn't very active playing guitar. He was into the concept of guitars and played guitars. And yeah, I remember when he got it because there was a music store that opened up in Rochester, and they had their big like grand opening parking lot sale or whatever. And he came back and he had this guitar, and I was like, oh, it was an Ibanez sort of like Strat copy. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's weird, And so, yeah, we're not really a musical family, but my mom was very supportive of me and my brother's artistic endeavors. He ended up pursuing more visual art, but I think she did have a dream that we would be like a family band. He also got a drum set, which I ended up sort of playing more than he did eventually. But yeah, it didn't work out as a family band, but everything worked out.
That's really nice though that your mom did that. By the way, your audio sounds great, man. Thank you for setting that up.
It's literally thank Tim Cook, I guess.
Yeah, man. It sounds awesome. I don't know what you're doing. So what prompted you? You went to school to study sound engineering instead of music. And obviously I know you do all the engineering or a lot of the mix for King Buffalo. So it's obviously helped you, but what prompted you to study engineering? Hold on. Do you hear my cat, by the way?
No, actually I'm not hearing it. Oh my
God. Like he's so loud. Holy smokes. I'm surprised you can't hear him like in Buffalo without the mic. What prompted you to study engineering as opposed to flat out, music theory or something like that?
Well, so I actually didn't even want to go to school. I was your classic sort of lazy, I just wanted to play guitar, man. I didn't really want to do anything academic. But my mom said, just go check out this open house. You have to at least apply to one college. You don't have to go, you just have to apply. Fredonia's got a really great music program. We went, and I had no aspirations or anything, but they were just doing tour stuff. And it was like, well, this is the recording program. And they had this great studio. And one of the professors was Dave Fridman, who is, great producer and engineer in his own right, did like all the Flaming Lips stuff and
I didn't know
that stuff. So I was like, well, I guess that's cool. I could dig making records. I like records. I could dig making records. So I'll kind of follow through with it. I'll audition and yeah, their program is a little unique to like a Full Sail or a lot of like strictly audio production based programs, where I was actually a music major. So I did have to do music theory, trumpet performance. I had to be a part of the trumpet studio and take piano and voice and then also do the physics, calculus, and audio classes.
Oh, so you did take music?
Yeah, I did have to be. I was technically a music student, but you only had their requirements were a little less. So instead of like having to do 4 years of trumpet, you only had to be like a full music major for 1 year, and then after that, the course load shifted to more
audio studio.
Yeah, and physics and electronics and stuff.
How come you didn't play guitar? Were you more into trumpet then?
Well, I didn't own an acoustic guitar, and the only guitar they offered was classical guitar.
Oh, okay.
And
enough
so
said.
I didn't know where to begin with that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I knew how to play the trumpet and I could sing, I could do these things. So I auditioned and was the worst trumpet major in the entire school for sure.
You're not any worse for it today, man.
No, I mean, they definitely just gave me my D in my trumpet courses just to get me through, because they knew, like, I was like, yeah, I'm not really into being a trumpet player. They're like, yeah, we know. Get out of my trumpet program and like go do your audio stuff.
That's fun. Where's Fredonia? Is that in Rochester?
No, it's south of. It's like a little southwest of Buffalo.
South. Okay, I actually went to Binghamton for 2 years.
Okay, yeah. So it's a few hours away, but it's like it's pretty close to Lake Erie.
Okay.
Just, an old big snow belt in southern Buffalo area.
Very cool. So then you studied in London for half a senior year. That must have been great. I was curious, what was that like? And did you learn anything from that experience? And what was that? Was it like a program or something?
It was, a study abroad program.
Foreign exchange.
It wasn't even an exchange. It was, you could go and they had a list of schools that you could sort of spend a semester at or a year. And I don't know, I just kind of wanted to travel. I guess I thought it seemed exciting. And it was definitely a bit of a culture shock in a good way. I grew up in a really small town. Right. Fredonia was a very small, it's just a tiny college town.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden I'm in one of the, biggest cities in the world.
In London.
London. And I'm just, figuring out how to take trains everywhere. And, it was pretty cool.
That is cool.
And it was a really good time. It was kind of almost a semester off. Like the academic side of it was really not, I didn't really do much, but it was just.
But you probably got so much out of that. Like, just traveling is just so good for you, meeting and learning how to meet people and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely felt like it sort of changed my perspective on a lot of things. I remember when I came back and I was just kind of like, oh yeah, all the things that like we all cared about at this tiny little college town is like really just bullshit. Like
that's
I just
cool.
felt, like all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, none of this matters really. Like, there's an entire massive world out there, and like what so-and-so is doing a couple blocks, it just changed everything. Like all of a sudden everything expanded.
That's cool. Do you eat beans on toast now?
Yeah, I love the English breakfast, man. That was great.
So, my wife's from the UK and she still eats like it's, like wartime. She eats beans on toast, jacket potatoes and beans, like pretty much almost every day.
Yeah, it's
quite funny.
Easy meal.
Yeah, man. It's really funny. Have you been back there? Did you ever go back?
Only, we've toured through Europe.
That's awesome.
Times. And so we've only been to London, I think twice since then, which was 10 years apart.
That's really cool though.
Yeah.
Did you do festival runs out there?
Yes. Both times were for Desert Fest, I believe. I know the last one was for Desert Fest London.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it was.
That's
really
a pretty
cool.
good accomplishment that you get to play, big, good-sized festivals like that. Coming over from America.
Yeah. I mean, Europe in general has a really great audience for psychedelic rock music. So,
they actually have a great audience for everything. I have people from every genre, and I think it's because, from what I understand, they're not so interested in what have you done for me lately. They're just happy to have you come out and do what you're good at. It's not, it doesn't need, you don't need to be the hot, the hot kid on the block, so to speak, or you don't need to be in the charts now. You just need to, perform and do what you do well at. And I think it's very, very appreciated for some reason.
Yeah. I don't know. And they definitely treat artists really well over there. It's always a great experience.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Glad you got to do that. All right. So after college, you went through a period of time where things weren't going particularly well work-wise, and you came to some interesting conclusions, including one that said, this is a first. I didn't want to take a job that I could view as a career. All right. This is famous. This is going to be the quote for your interview, by the way. I wanted a job that I hated.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to talk about that time frame after school and what was or what wasn't going on, and like why you made some of those decisions and the net lesson that you learned from all that.
Well, after I graduated college, I moved back to Rochester, and I started working at a local recording studio. And it was, it was a really tough time to be an aspiring audio engineer. Home recording was really taking off then. And so the market had kind of just totally dropped out as far as recording studios go. But I did learn a lot. It was interesting. I was doing actually a lot of classical music and a lot of hip hop. But it was really a struggle to pay the bills. Like I was really, really, really low on money.
Were you living on your own or with your folks, or?
I was with my folks, my mom's house for a while.
Right.
And then eventually, I was like, okay, I can get an apartment, but it was still really tough. And it was just to the point where the environment there wasn't necessarily, I wasn't thriving, it was just kind of very stressful. It wasn't a good environment. So I left, and then I was sort of freelancing all sorts of different stuff.
Just hustling to bring some bucks in.
Yeah, I was working for a band that was friends of mine, and they wanted to make a new record, and so they just kind of hired me as like their in-house engineer. They wanted to do it at their own small home studio.
Sure.
But none of them really had audio like expertise, so they wanted me to come in and sort of help out. I did that for a while. That was great until they kind of disbanded mid-project, and which is, it happens all the time.
And I'm sure they prepaid you in advance for everything, so you're all set, right?
Actually, yeah. Actually,
they did? I was being sarcastic.
Well, I can't. No. Like they didn't. They were great. Like they never.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like a miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we kind of knew it was going to happen. Like they kind of changed what the project was going to be. So it all it was totally fine. But yeah, and then it was, odd jobs doing like construction, manual labor, which I had done throughout high school and college in the summers and stuff. So, and then it was, kind of like a crossroads. Like, well, do I get, my mom's like, well, you should like apply to, radio stations, TV stations. I'm like, well, I knew I wanted to do music. Like I wanted to be like I wanted to be a guitar player. I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to tour. I wanted to do the rock and roll thing. And so knowing myself, if I was to take a job that like, had a good salary, everything, like I would want to work really hard, and I would feel bad. Like I couldn't be like, hey, I'm leaving for a month. Bye. To go on tour, yeah. Like I would have been stressed out. And so I ended up taking a job working for like one of the big box retail companies.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, I'll work for you. And which ended up, I actually worked for them for like 7 years. But it was because I could come and go whenever I wanted. It was never, I never asked for time off to go on tour. It was, I'm going on tour. That's my priority. I'll be gone for a month. If I still have my job when I come back, cool. If not, I'm letting you know now so you can, and it worked out. So until I got to, sorry.
No, go ahead. Until
the touring became so much, there was like 3 or 4 years in a row where it was between like 3 and 5 months a year I was on the road.
Right.
I was like, okay, like we kind of can't do this anymore. And I was like, yeah, totally cool.
Yeah.
Everything's, and went separate ways. And luckily the band had been picking up enough by then that I was like, I think I can make that work,
So when you say you finished?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So when you said I wanted a job I hated, I understand that you didn't want to get tied to something that you would like because you would commit to it and it might stray you off your course.
Yeah. And I just didn't want to be like, I wanted the band to be the priority. I wanted music to be my priority. I didn't want to feel tied down to Rochester. I knew I also was like, well, I might want to move out of here. I don't want to like set roots right now. Which, I tend to be very like diligent about what I'm doing. And I know if I have had a good job or something that I was really excited about, that I would have really struggled to just pick up and go if I needed to, or, the opportunity came up.
No, I totally get it. So a couple of questions. Number one, you obviously have a great work ethic. Where did you get that from? Or why do you have it? One of the two.
I don't know. I think I definitely got that from, I have a pretty small family.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time with my uncle. He was a Marine. He was, but he's also one of those, like, suck the marrow out of the bone of life type guys. Really interesting guy. And so, working alongside him, just doing whatever project he decided to do at the time. And for my stepdad, doing construction, like manual labor stuff. He was very much a hard worker. And so, I don't know. I guess that's where I came from. I don't know. I just like to do it. When I'm doing something, I tend to go too hard to the point where, like, hey, it's 8 o'clock at night. I haven't eaten anything today, because I've been working, and but yeah.
Well, the other thing is, you were pretty young when you came to this conclusion. That is really impressive, that you had the wherewithal and the awareness, really, to think this whole thing through. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it was that I did have it. It wasn't right after college. I had that studio job, and I thought, like, this is going to be the path I was going to go down. And so it took a couple of years. I think it was about 3 years of doing that before I was like, yeah, I don't think this is for me. And that's when I was really like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna take some sort of job that'll just be okay to put money on the table.
Yeah, but that in your mid-20s to come to that conclusion, that I think that's, man, all the respect in the world to you. That's really difficult for most people. Certainly I couldn't have done that, I can tell you right now. But and then to have the courage to execute on that, and also to have the passion to know where your kind of heart was on this stuff. So that's really, I give you a lot of credit for putting all that together.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, it's funny. I think it wasn't that hard of a decision, especially because I was already so broke. So, it wasn't like I was giving up something.
The mansion. I get it. But still, no, I totally get that, because it's like, someone once said to me, you take more risks when you're broke because, hey, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, totally.
But the awareness to know I need to not be tied there, because my work ethic won't allow me to kind of like do a shitty job or half-ass it. I think that's what's really impressive, man. Very much so, for sure, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Okay. So during that time, you had another thing good come out of that, was you learned a lot musically from playing in a variety of bands, some good and some not good. Can you maybe elaborate on some of the situations and talk about the lessons that you learned and some of the clarity that helped give you later on, or about future decisions?
Well, I would say definitely the big thing that I got out of that was sort of learning how to be in a band, like how to lead, also know when to step back and not lead, and learning how to collaborate more. I definitely have some moments that I'm not necessarily proud of with some of those old projects where,
sure,
I maybe put my foot down too hard about a specific thing that, looking back, I'm like, man, I was a total dick. Like I would have told me to fuck off if I was in that band,
Yeah.
And so, like, learning that sort of thing, learning how to be organized, and learning, like, how to prioritize that, as opposed to, how much beer is in the practice space, like all the stupid pitfalls, like practices turn into parties and, things like that. And it starts to devolve, and soon you realize you're not really getting anything done. And, I don't know, just learning how to do it in the most efficient and sort of actual, like, real way, not just, because we don't really have, that's one thing, we don't really have a real music industry in Rochester. We have a lot of really talented musicians and a lot of really talented bands, but there wasn't a lot of examples of, like, it's not like Nashville, where
right,
like okay, everyone knows how to drill a rock band practice.
Yeah.
Like all these things, like all of the the detail, because everyone's there. It's a profession there. In Rochester, it was still, people still kind of think of it as
engineering.
Well, yeah, it's like
tech.
Everyone has a kid that plays in a band. So, okay. Everyone's like, oh, that's nice that you play guitar,
Right. But there's no formal. Yeah.
You're right. There isn't a lot of like, oh, this is how you go from being in a band with your buddies in your basement to like being able to do certain things, being able to tour and, make a record,
Totally get it. It's funny you mentioned Nashville. Yeah, when I first started the show, most of my guests were out of there, and it was probably I don't know, 150 episodes, like almost 100% in Nashville, and I met a lot of great people there. And I was up there, I guess, about 6 months ago, just hanging out, and there was a guy named Pat Bergeson. Pat played with Chet Atkins, tremendous player. He's toured all over the world, and it was a show. It was late at night. It was a little guitar event, and it was just like 5 hours into this thing. And this guy has played in front of stadiums, and there was probably 10 people left in the audience. And I told him this after the show. What an example of professionalism. Like, the guy got up there and he goes, "Hey, listen, I want to thank everybody for coming to the show." I mean, just, you would have thought there was 500 people in there. And like what you just mentioned, that's professionalism, that you can go up and be confident enough and still keep in mind that, hey, I'm in the service business. I need to provide this service. And that takes a lot when there's 10 people in there and the gig's been going on 5 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
So I understand exactly what you said, because there's so many examples of guys like Pat there, man.
Yeah. I mean, we've played our fair share of shows to the bartenders,
Yeah.
Like really that first tour that you mentioned, I don't know, probably under like 150 people total throughout the entire tour, like we're at the shows. Like it was empty room tour, but you do it every night. And I think that's a huge growing opportunity. And if I could make one recommendation to any like young musicians and bands, is tour with your friends as soon as you can for as long as you can, because that's when you start to know if it's something you really want to do, when you're playing show after show to bartenders. And it's trial by fire. You get so much better so much faster. It's like you can drill it in your practice space till you're blue in the face. It's totally different when you're setting up, tearing down every night, doing all of like the little things. Total game changer.
Interesting. So how did you handle those? How did you not get discouraged in those early gigs? Or even if you were discouraged, which I would get, how did you get through it?
Well, it's so fun, especially, you're in just traveling around with your buds, it's fun. Even when it's not fun, it's still fun.
Okay. I get it.
So, if you can do it. And it's not always going to be, it's nothing like it's in the movies. It's nothing like it, crazy stories. It's usually kind of boring, but it's still fun. It's even like the goofy jokes that you make about seeing the different truck stops. There's just like little things that like, it's just time spent that it's really fun and rewarding, and highly recommend it.
Man, I think what you just said is so important. It's nothing like what's in the movies. I think most things are not, I would agree. It's like nothing is like what it is in the movie,
Yeah.
The hot chick doesn't generally come in and drop her muscle-bound boyfriend for you. No. The parent that was an asshole their whole life doesn't suddenly say, "I regret it, I love you." All that kind of stuff. I think that's really good. I thank you for saying that, because I think people do need to know that.
Sorry,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I had nothing really real to add.
No, it's just so true, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's like what we talked about before we started recording. Facebook is the edited version of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to what you're saying here, man. Okay, so King Buffalo, you guys have put out 4 records in just 6 years, and now you're about to drop, I know 2 EPs, it's still 4 records, and you're about to drop your 5th. I think that's really ambitious. especially in today's day and age where you're not getting paid to sell records anymore. And I was curious what drives you to keep making new music. And are you guys all self-funded? Are you on a label now, or?
No, we are not on the label. We do it all ourselves as of right now. We do have, we have a label as far as European stuff goes.
That's Nick's
Stickman Records.
Stickman, right? Okay.
And they're phenomenal. But as far as in the States goes, we're completely on our own. For now,
right.
Those,
man, anybody listening, if you are distributing, great hard rock, hook up with these guys. They're an excellent band. Sean is you can hear he's a real professional guy, and their music is wonderful and it's well done, well engineered. And anyway, so just, hook up with Sean on Instagram. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm trying to hook you up, man, because I believe in you guys. You're such a good band. I love listening to your music. You put really long songs together and there's good stuff going on. It's not like, sometimes people put long songs together and you're like, man, it's an 8-minute song. It's about 6.5 minutes too long, but it's not right. It happens, right? But
I appreciate that.
No, man, your music is great. When Nick turned me on, he said, "Hey, do you know King Buff?" I'm like, "No, let me check him out." And I listened. I said right away, I said, "Yeah, man, I want to meet that guy for sure."
Cool.
And then I think I even sent you a text when I was going through your account, like, "This is awesome. I'm so happy I got turned on to you." So.
Yeah, well, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, and seriously, if you are someone that distributes records here in the States, hook up with Sean McVeigh from King Buffalo. Anyway, so go ahead, tell me about what's driving you guys to work so hard, and make all this new music.
Well, that's kind of like the fun part, right? Is like coming up with stuff to play. I actually tend to think we move kind of slow. So,
dude, 6 years, 5 records.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. So maybe I'm just being hard on it.
That's not as good that you're hearing this. 6 years, 5 records. That's not slow at all.
Well, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Great.
We just, we are, as you can probably tell by a lot of like the music, is a lot of it is just formed by just sort of jamming.
Yeah.
So it's really like, we'll just play. We'll just be in our studio for 3 hours and we'll just jam, and we'll have 3 hours of jam. I'll take them home, go through and pick through, be like, hey, that was cool. That was cool. That sucked. In a kind of jigsaw stuff together.
Yeah.
So it's fun, jamming's always fun on its own, and then we can make something out of it, just rewarding.
But you got a booking agent.
Yeah.
Is that just for Europe, or is that for the States and Europe?
We have a separate booking agent for both places.
All right. So that's it, man. Distribution. They got a booking agent here, domestically foreign. All right. Enough said. Were you always into the kind of music that King Buffalo plays?
Yes and no. I grew up, I guess it would depend on what we define what the music we play as. We grew up with all the classics, Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, Hendrix, Sabbath, those were, huge in my life. And then I also, I had a huge nu metal phase, grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, I definitely had my share of Korn records and stuff like that. System of a Down, Rage Against the Machine, both those, Evil Empire, Battle of Los Angeles.
Great records, man.
I played along to those records, like learned all the riffs, played along to them when I was, 15, 16, loved every second of it. So, that was definitely the foundation of my musical sort of experience. And then, like I said, when I went to college, I started getting into different things, more sort of, like new wave and sort of indie rock.
Mm-hmm.
But also I got into a lot of different hip hop, and I was actually like working with a lot of rappers in different times, like amateur stuff, but got into a lot of hip hop. And actually Dan, our bass player right now, that's like his favorite kind of music
is hip hop. Interesting.
Yeah. So like
you'd never know from listening to King Buffalo that you guys are heavily influenced by hip hop. I can tell you that one.
Yeah. We all have very different influences, I think.
Sure.
Which is kind of a good thing for us.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. I just, at this point now, I'm probably more into sort of experimental, like electronic sort of stuff and ambient music, as opposed to, I don't really seek out a lot of new like heavy rock music.
It's interesting you say that, because you kind of, a good chunk of your stuff, you can call it like ambient hard rock or ambient psychedelic hard rock to an extent.
Yeah. I mean, the phrase that I sort of came up with when we were doing Orion, which is our first full length, was I wanted it to sound like a fuzzy blanket, you know, so like a warm fuzzy blanket. So kind of comforting, but, you know, a little abrasive, but, you know, with some space thrown in there. You know, I wanted to be more of like not like an active, like fist pumping experience, but more of like a put on headphones and maybe melt into your couch experience.
I think that was very accurate, because it has an edge, which I love, which is what I like. One of the many things I like about King Buffalo. It's got an edge, but it is like a fuzzy blanket, man. It's not like total stoner. It's, you know, it does have an edge to it, which is great, you know, which is cool.
Thank you.
No, man, thank you for making it. It's just a joy to listen to you guys. You said something there I was going to ask you about. I forgot. Anyway, okay, tell me about, you're working on a new EP. Talk about that.
Yeah, we're working on an EP now. And I don't know, it's definitely kind of like, it's hard. I'm like so wrapped up in it. I've literally been like slaving over it for the past month that I'm like kind of a little bit insane. And had a few too many nervous breakdowns in the process.
Deep breath, man. Deep breath. Sean.
Yeah. It's definitely taken some risks, you know, some slightly different, you know, we're one of the things we've kind of been wanting to get better at. We still have our long epic songs. We have a couple of those. Then we were also, as a band, trying to get a little bit better at writing short songs.
Right.
Just kind of as an experiment for our own songwriting process, which we did a little bit on Longing to Be the Mountain, and we're exploring a little bit more with the new EP as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Do you do most of the writing, or is it all collaborative with everybody?
Well, a lot of it is jams, like I said. So particularly the longer songs tend to be songs that were just started as jams, but there's a few more on this record that started out as I had a guitar part and a vocal melody and then brought them to the band.
Very cool.
So yeah, it should be exciting. We're, you know, it's the kind of thing that's like scary and apprehensive, and we hope people like it. And I can't wait for people to hear it.
Dude, I can't wait to hear it. Do you have any other side hustles going? Like outside of, I know you're doing engineering, you do a lot of mixing.
Yeah. I mean, I've done live sound for about 9 years now.
Oh, cool.
So I haven't been doing as much lately, just with the tour schedule. And, you know, when I'm home, I don't necessarily want to spend my nights in a loud club. You know, when I've been on the road for a while in a loud club every night. So I do, you know, live sound, you know, record, mix engineering stuff. That's pretty much it as far as side hustle goes.
Are you still in Rochester?
Yeah.
Oh, you are. So you came back. So everything's good there now.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything, you know, it's, you know, barring the winters, which I actually kind of like, but it's
so cold up. I mean, I love if I would live upstate New York, it's the most beautiful place, mellow, safe, but it's freaking freezing, man.
It gets cold. I mean, you know, so does Minnesota and, you know, Chicago and, you know, New York City, all these places get cold, but no, it's really, it's a small city. So it's like the pace is good. And you know, it's really affordable to live. Me and my girlfriend own a house. We have a dog. We have a great life here. So
awesome, man.
It's a great place to call home base.
Do you know, I think he's in Vermont, but I thought he came from, how far is Rochester from Buffalo?
It's about 45 minutes to an hour.
Do you happen to know Rob? Sorry, 45 minutes to an hour? Yeah,
Buffalo is west, but pretty much straight line west.
Do you happen to know Rob Compa from Dopapod?
I've heard of Dopapod. I don't think I know Rob. Okay. I may have met him in passing, but I don't think I know. Off the top of my head, I can't pick his. Yeah,
just curious. He's from Buffalo. I think he lives in Vermont now, but I know he's from Buffalo. So I know that when they're that close, it's not unusual that everybody knows everybody, especially in a smaller town.
Yeah.
Really nice guy too. Low points. What were some low points or dark periods you've had to deal with, Sean, and how'd you get through them?
I think for the most part, I've had a pretty sort of good life. When I saw that in the questions you emailed me, and I guess one of the first sort of realizations, the first band that I was serious about after college, when we broke up, I kind of started to get really depressed, and I didn't really know why. It was just kind of, really in a dark place for a few months. And then I started jamming again with some other friends. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's why I was like feeling crappy. And I've noticed, if I have a long period of not playing music with friends or at shows, I start to kind of feel bad about myself. But that's a pretty easy one, to fix.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, seriously, man. That's like, thank God when you get down, you know what it is, and you can go, pick up a guitar and call two buddies and fix that,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
And, just standard, mid-20s, early 30s life experiences of, romance and breakups and fallout with friends and, stuff like that, and coming to grips with maybe things from your past that you skipped right over. But
sure,
I'm a classic overthinker, so I don't know if I've ever like fully gotten out of the low points, but I think just being honest with yourself and honest with people around you is probably the best thing that you can do with anything and anyone.
Yeah, especially being honest with yourself, man. I found that. It's funny that you say that, man. I was really bummed a while ago, and I had been missing gym workouts, oddly. And I've been doing that forever. And I went back to the gym, and I felt like $1 million, kind of like you picking up the guitar. It's really weird when there's things that you have going on that you don't realize how important they are to you, either emotionally, physically, whatever. And it was great that, like, I felt, oh my God, that's all I had to do is come back to the gym. Like I'm not suffering from clinical depression or something like that, so that's good.
So much little things as far as like self-care, going outside in the sun, like it's like sometimes like, hey, I haven't really been out in the sunshine for a week. And then it's like, oh yeah, just get an hour in the sun, get that vitamin D, have a glass of water instead of, it's little things that add up to really make a huge difference.
Oh, totally, man. So are you workaholic then?
Yeah, I definitely used to be more so. I told you when I was working like the big box retail thing, I was also doing live sound at night, and I was in 2 bands at the time. So, I was pulling really long days. There was plenty of weekends where I slept 4 hours total in the weekend.
Wow.
Cause I would go from the day job, sound all night, day job in the morning, sound all, things like that. I've gotten better at that. And so I'm a little better. I've been able to find more of a balance.
Good.
Especially since doing the band full time, I'm able to like really like take some time off. The dog helps, like.
Oh, totally. What kind of dog do you have?
He's like a lab. He's a rescue dog. It's like a lab pit bull shepherd mix of some sort.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man. I hate to go negative, but man, I haven't watched news or read a newspaper in as long as you've been alive, to be honest with you, because it's just negative. But I'm not like an animal activist, but I love animals, and we have pets, and I think that they bring really beautiful things into your life. And man, it's fucking crazy. I try not, now I'm gonna have to switch all the animal shit off, because people post, people just like, I didn't know that there's a whole community of people out there that just dump their fucking animal, and like, oh, we can't have them, dump them in the street. How do you do that?
Yeah.
I mean, just dump, like, hey, we're finished with you. Like, I didn't know that shit existed.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we got our dog. He was, abandoned or stray, like, we picked him up, and, now he's in our home, and I can't imagine why anyone would dump him off. I don't know. It's crazy how the things people do and don't do are mind-boggling.
Yeah, it was just blew. Like, how would that thought come into your mind to like do that? Even I don't even I never considered myself naive, but I'm like crazy. So
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to go dark, but it's just like
No.
awful to hear that, man. I love animals. In fact, some days I love animals more than people.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, they never fucking bother you. They never fucking bother. And ever. I've had dogs, cats. None of them have ever like come over and like did something remotely like irritating, you know?
Yeah. Well, and at least if they do, it's usually out of love and niceness. It's not like, hey, I'm going to try to piss you off right now just to.
Yeah.
I'm going to troll you, bro.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's imagine, right?
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Dude, let's talk about gear for a little bit.
Sure.
I want to talk about your pedal setup too, but what's your go-to guitar right now, and what other guitars might round out your top 2 or 3?
Well, it's funny. All of my guitars would round up my top 2 or 3 because I only have like 3 guitars.
Awesome.
Well, I guess what I would say 3 real guitars. You can see I got a couple crappy acoustics behind me. One of them I picked out of the garbage. The other one I got at like a local store for like $50. It's like it's just a beater guitar.
Yeah.
They're just, whatever to dink around on. If I want to go play like at a campfire or something, if, I'm not worried that I'm going to like destroy a beautiful, J45 or something. Yeah. No. So my main guitar is a Hagstrom G2F
from Sweden. Those guitars, aren't they?
Yeah. It was a Swedish company. I got that at a local store here. It was brand new, but they, it's kind of that ugly gold sparkle that I think looks cool, but they couldn't sell it for years and years and years. So they marked it down. And I traded a crappy Epiphone Les Paul I got off Craigslist and paid very little for it. And then just like hot rodded it, put it all new tuners, pickups, everything. And now it's my main guitar. It's the guitar that I've been playing pretty much exclusively for a few years now. Excuse me.
So is that shaped like a Les Paul? That particular
kind of. It's almost like a weird bastardization of a Les Paul and a Gresh.
Okay.
It's got like a sort of faux F-hole cut into it.
Yes.
And it's a cool guitar. I mean, it was made in China. It's not like a fancy pants guitar by any means. But I'm pretty cheap when it comes to guitars. I used to have this theory that I guess I still kind of do because I haven't bought a guitar that costs more than this, but my rule used to be no guitars over $700 because I wanted to have something that if it got lost or destroyed on the road that I wouldn't.
Yeah, you're not devastated by it. Yeah, sure.
And I was always pretty broke anyway, so that was a pretty easy rule to honor.
That's like saying I don't want to be high. I'm not going to be taller than 5'9". Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Perfect. So I had that, and my guitar before that was a Strat. It was the Fender Light Ash Strat, which was a Korean-made Strat. And I played that for years. Loved it, but then as I started to use more and more like heavy fuzz, I was finding that like the single coils were just too noisy. Yeah. So I ended up putting Filtertrons into it.
Interesting.
And I still play it every now and then. It actually is on the new EP quite a bit, but I don't really travel with it. But I might start to. Those are my 2 like what I would call real guitars.
Sure.
My other guitar is another Hagstrom that I got off Reverb that has P90s in it. It's a Hagstrom Super Swede with P90s, but right now it just doesn't sound so great. I kind of need to change the pickups out of it, and then maybe I'll start using it.
You're only the second person I've interviewed who plays Hagstrom, and the first is a guy you might know. Do you ever heard of a band in England called Crippled Black Phoenix?
No.
Great band. Justin Greaves is the guy. Man, he's got a great story too, if you want to listen to a good interview. But their music is kind of like it's 8-9 minute songs. Really good band, Crippled Black Phoenix. But he plays
I'll
Hagstrom.
check that out. Crippled Black Phoenix.
Yes, really, really nice, very intense guy.
Cool.
And he loves it. What is your pedal and amp setup? Because I'm curious how you get your particular fuzz or distortion.
I've been playing a twin, or I also had a dual Showman Reverb. I still have it, a dual Showman Reverb, which is just a twin in head form. for years, for as long as I can really remember. Been playing in bands seriously. So my amp, and that's what I tour with right now, is just my twin. I have a 73 twin. It's had a couple mods done to it, but nothing crazy.
Okay.
I run it at half power. So two of the power tubes are pulled. So it's, 40 watts, 45 watts instead of, 100 or whatever.
Which is plenty in any 90% of clubs.
Yeah, it's still too loud. I still get yelled at some of the time.
That's interesting that's how you load it. You just pulled out two of the tubes.
Yeah, it's a pretty common mod that I found online, and I had a buddy that tried it. But yeah, you do it. For anyone that tries to do it, you do have to disconnect one of your speakers, because it does change the impedance from 4 ohms to 8 ohms. So if you're going to do that, I actually put different speakers in so I can have the 212, but it's still 8. It's an 8 ohm load instead of 4 now. So everyone out there, don't pull 2 tubes out of your twin and then destroy your twin because you didn't disconnect one of the speakers.
Boys and girls, listen. Yeah, man. Thank you for telling people.
Yeah. So that's that's my amp. And then the pedal setup is it's expanded and contracted quite a bit over the years. My main fuzz is a fuzz face clone that I built off of BYOC. It builds your own clone.
Wow. Yeah. Dude, you are utilitarian. You're like the McGyver of Stoner Rock, man.
I mean, I bought the kit. They send you the directions, and you just, simple soldering. It's not that complicated.
No, but
it was fun.
But it's your work ethic, man. That's what it is. You're like utilitarian. Like, man, I'm going to put this together myself. Boom, done.
Yeah, I'm really cheap, so it was cheaper than.
Good for you.
Finding. It was the circuit that it's built off of, which they have different options, but I chose the one that was the fuzz that David Gilmour used on Time.
What's his store? What's his online store called?
Build Your Own Clone.
Clone CLONE or Clone KLON.
Nope, CLONE.
Build your own clone.
And they have a ton of kits on there, which are pretty cool. I've built a rat clone that they had on there that I don't really use, but yeah, it's worked great. It's been my main fuzz for like 4 years now.
What if you can't solder and they solder it for you?
They do have pre-made. You can buy the pre-made pedals, but
you can't. It just costs more money.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so
I can't solder, and I can't put wires together. That's pretty cool. Soldering's not hard. I could actually solder.
Yeah, I mean it's a good skill to learn. I don't do it all the time, but I'm not great at it, but I'm able to stumble through a couple primitive pedal builds. I haven't built any of the crazy ones that are like really difficult. This is like there's one of their recommendations for like entry level. It's a simple circuit. So
the one you bought,
the fuzz. Yeah.
That's cool.
So I did that. My main overdrive is, which I've been using different iterations of their pedals. It's a company called Lightning Boy Audio, and they're actually out of Buffalo. And their pedals are all hand wired, tube overdrive pedals. He was even making his own capacitors for the pedals. It's really like high quality, handmade stuff. And the pedal I use is the Soul Drive 5. There's been a bunch of different versions.
Dude, so that's like boutique-y. How did you like?
Yeah, actually I met him when I was working at that studio years ago, and he hadn't started building. He was always like a gear tinkerer. He was a studio guy, but a gear tinkerer. And one day I saw he started up this company and he was making pedals, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I checked it out, and they're certainly not cheap, but like anything handmade, and
get what you pay for, man.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. And so they're great. And I have a handful of these different versions. He's got all these different overdrive pedals that all sound slightly different. And I got my first one from him and then really liked it, and then kind of kept getting different ones. And so now he's almost part of like the voice of the band at this point, really, because Dan has one as well that he uses. The bass player Dan has one that he uses. It's like a preamp. So Dan's amp is very clean, solid state, but then he has this tube preamp that gives it the character of a nice tube amp without having to lug around 100-pound bass head and stuff. So yeah, the Lightning Boy Audio, can't say enough for them. The pedals are some of the greatest stuff, and the rat gear is also really nice. We used he makes channel strip, like preamp.
Okay.
It's all over this new EP that we just used. It's really great.
Do you find you're using overdrive a lot and fuzz, or usually?
Actually,
really?
Yeah. That was a trick I started using later. So like Orion, I wasn't using that, but Repeater and Longing to Be the Mountain, pretty much all of my fuzz tone is fuzz into the overdrive stacked.
Okay, so you got,
and that's part of the reason. Yep.
Into the so your fuzz is first in the or ahead of the overdrive. The overdrive comes after. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because the fuzz face can sound a little brittle and shrill and through a really clean amp. So having the overdrive after it kind of fattens it up, eats up some of like the shrill fizziness and gives it more like oomph.
I got to put my I have a big muff as a fuzz, which I really like. I don't usually put it through overdrive. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the kind of thing. It's very specific too, like pedal to pedal.
Right.
I had an issue. Think something was going bad actually on one of these overdrive pedals on the road, and so I needed a quick fix like immediately. Everything's fine now, but now I switched to a full tone OCD.
Right, and they sound great. Actually,
it didn't stack well at all.
Oh, it didn't.
No, it just like ate up the fuzz, and it was really. It sounded, they were great pedals, but the stacking didn't work. So it's very much, it's the pairing has to be.
Yeah,
right,
that's interesting. So it's like cheese and wine, or cigars and booze, or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. Anybody that influences your playing that people would be surprised to hear?
I don't know. I mean, like my all-time favorite guitar player is David Gilmour, which is pretty obvious.
Right on, man.
Yeah, I think you look at the comments on some of the YouTube stuff, and it's be like, yeah, you're just ripping off David Gilmour, and it's like, yeah, I am. He's the best.
I mean, like, it's funny because when you said my influences are Floyd, Zeppelin, Sabbath, and you said somebody else, I thought to myself, well, if you combine all that, that's what King Buffalo sounds like. But I don't think you are remotely ripping off David Gilmour.
I mean, I don't
remotely.
I'm not worried about it. If people think that,
no, fine. I know you're not losing sleep over it. You're not getting. Yeah.
But I'm really into like krautrock from the 70s and sort of like the English prog of the 70s as well. Like Steve Hillage is amazing. He's probably my
Steve Hillage. I never heard of him.
Yeah, he played in Gong for a short time, but then he did a bunch of solo albums, and he's incredible.
Steve Hillage, thanks, man.
Yeah.
And when you say krautrock, you mean like Tangerine Dream or stuff like that, or?
Yeah. My favorite is a band called Agitation Free. They have a record called Second, and it's, I think, one of the best records ever. It's incredible. It's really beautiful and long, sort of instrumental, sort of beautiful guitar work. It's really good. I don't know the name of the guitar player, but yeah.
Agitation Free. Are they still around, or are they?
I don't know. I mean, this record came out in like the early 70s.
Okay.
And they did put out a couple records in the 90s, but I don't know if they're still going.
Yeah.
It's
You ever heard of Color Haze? C-O-O?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're a great German band, man. They have really. It was really funny because I had spoke to their guitar player, and I'm like, I want to have him on the show, and he said, I'm not making fun of the guy, but it was a funny response. He said something like, I don't have a computer. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Are you a musician in fucking 2018? That's like saying, so I didn't ask. Maybe his computer was out of service and he didn't, in all fairness to him, I didn't really, I didn't ask him, how do you not have a compuder? But I'm sure that's what it was. But it was just like, oh, okay. Or else maybe he just didn't want to come on the show, but he didn't know how to say no. I don't have a computer. Oh, yeah, right. But I love their music. Color Haze is a great band, man. Yeah, really good band. Give me your top 3 Desert Island discs. No particular order, just for this minute.
The easiest one, I would say Dark Side of the Moon is the best
Me and you
record ever
both.
made.
I agree.
I think anyone that like poo-poos on that record, you know, like Floyd fans that like, oh, no, poop, you know, it's like, yeah, it's because classic rock radio killed it, but that doesn't mean it's not amazing. So that's one. Desert Island record bands. I mean, I could just name 3 Pink Floyd records easily, but I don't know if that's like a hack answer. I mean,
dude, my number 1 and 2 is Dark Side and Wish You Were Here. So,
yeah.
You know, whatever you want to name is totally cool. But I agree with you. Dark Side. You crank that thing up and put some headphones on.
Yeah,
nothing like that record.
Yep. Yeah, it's like the peak of. That's the pinnacle to me. It's just like, you know, like engineering, production, arrangement, performance, lyricism, like everything is.
I agree.
Everything was a moment in time that can't be recreated of perfection.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I'd probably put. I don't know, this is a really tough question. Maybe like Battle of Los Angeles. I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan.
Great record.
Either that or Evil Empire. And then maybe I'd put Agitation Free second on there. It's tough because it's Desert Island, you know?
Yeah.
But I think I'd probably want to like mellow out if I'm just like on a remote desert island. So I think I'd put Agitation Free on there. I can't have like too many like rock records, like hard rock records.
You know, it's, you always have the thinkers. They like, well, if I was on a desert island, would I really,
yeah,
I actually envision like the literal interpretation of that, but I get it, man. Totally. Dark Side, Battle of Los Angeles. I'm going to check out that Agitation Free for sure, man.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
Steve Hillage. It's going to be interesting to hear from you. What's your definition of happiness?
I guess this is going to be kind of like a weird dark answer, but I think like the definition of happiness is understanding you don't have to be happy. If that makes any sense. Like just the kind of like content in existing in whatever state you're currently in. I think like feeling the need to be happy or to be stimulated by happy things all the time, I think is misguided. I think, you know, it's okay to be unhappy and it's okay to, you know, just relish in that, you know.
Yeah, it sounds like
experience all the emotions. You don't have to be happy all the time, which I've struggled with myself. You know, it just takes a long time to get comfortable being unhappy.
Wait a minute. That's almost as good as your "I want to get a job I hate" quote. Classics from Sean McVay.
Yeah, typical upstate New York cynicism.
No, I get it, man. It's like, you know, there's a lot of pressure sometimes with that question. So I get it. Like, you know, what does happiness mean? And you know, sometimes it's just like, you know, I don't know, like I like to just sit down and do nothing with my wife on a Saturday night. And I'm really happy doing that, to be honest with you. You know, like literally just doing nothing, having no responsibility for that moment. I'm like or like when my kids come over for a barbecue or something and just doing nothing spectacular that's to be happening. So I get that answer, man. Yeah,
you know, there's a million ways to experience happiness, and I think it changes from moment to moment and person to person.
I agree with you, man. So, thank you for being honest. You have any non-musical superpowers? I think you do, Sean.
I guess like kind of like a joke answer would be I'm like really good at like watching a movie and then be like like recognizing someone, be like, that person was in that movie, like, you know, some total like C-list, you know, like no one knows that person. Never know. I'm like, oh yeah, they were also in these million other movies. I don't know. It's weird. I've always been good at that. I guess that's a superpower. I never trained for that or anything. Just God-given talent.
I envy you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really practical. No, I don't know.
I thought you were going to say, I always know what happens in the movie, because I'll be like 10 minutes into the movie and I don't know how she does this. My wife was like, oh, this is going to happen and that's going to, and it's like 10 minutes. I'm like, how do you know this? And that's her like superpower. So I thought you were going to say something like that.
No, nothing that would make that much sense or really be
no,
that like useful.
Sean, your superpower is great. Come on, man.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Do you have any hobbies outside of music?
Yeah, we mentioned earlier, I love fishing.
Yeah.
Really like any sort of outdoor stuff I'm, really into. Camping, kayaking, canoeing, any sort of stuff like that really is, I guess, what I would prefer to be doing if I'm not playing guitar. That's ideally what I would be doing.
Is that stuff you've always done?
Yeah, but I definitely got more into it later in life. It's the kind of thing I definitely grew up doing it a lot. Excuse me. And growing up kind of on the edge of nothing but farmland.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what my high school experience was on weekends was,
camping,
go out camping and drinking too much, that sort of thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah. But like now I'm definitely a little more into sort of, going on an expedition or even just spending the day like out on a small boat fishing and things like that.
That's really, I've always wanted to like camping, but see, I grew up in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm sleeping outside ever. When it was cold and we wanted to go drink, we'd go in a stairwell. I mean, it's awful, but that's what but I always wanted to like camping, but it's like, it's cold. It's like outdoor. It's really weird. A lot of it, I think, for that is a product of where you grow up.
Yeah. I do think maybe you got to go to the right place, like
the Bronx is not right for camping.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like there's a lot of what people consider camping that I don't know if I'd really consider camping anymore. Which it makes, like if you're going to like a state funded campground with showers and stuff like that, like, yeah, that's nice. And it's easy when you have your kids and everything, it makes sense.
Right.
But like, it's way different than going into a place that's like relatively untouched and it's super quiet, super peaceful. And, like you're just in it, like there's all sorts of birds. It's just the wildlife is really there and you're just kind of experiencing it. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah. But also like MacGyver, I get the feeling like, you could like be in the desert and you'll find some mushrooms that would like give you so much. I mean, you're like a thinker like that, I could tell there's certain things you're super industrious.
I'd like to be as self-reliant as possible. So anything I can learn to do myself, I like to try to figure out how to do myself.
Yeah, you could tell that's a great skill to have. I'd be like, man, get me to a supermarket. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you'll have to, there's some beautiful places in Florida, right?
There is. And it's funny. My daughter goes to like festivals. And so she's sleeping outdoors and she sends us pictures and we're like, that is fucking gross.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different thing. Again, I don't know if it's camping, but it's with 100,000 people.
Yeah, right. I'm like, there's nothing exciting about that.
Yeah, that porta potty is a hellscape.
Yeah, I just assume going to bush, man.
Yeah.
A lot safer. Tell me, Sean, about a specific experience that changed your life or altered the way you think about things.
Oh man. I know I looked at this question when you sent me the questions ahead of time and I was like, oh man, I got to think of an answer. And I was like, I don't know. It's tough. I think probably studying abroad when I was in college was probably an easy answer for me. Just talking to people and just through traveling in general, seeing that people all over the world have sort of the same problems. And it's everyone's pretty much relatively the same.
Yeah, man.
As much as anyone will try to tell you differently. There are slight differences, but for the most part, person to person, people are pretty much the same. And learning that, even though I was in London, which is a very, classic Western society, just the conversations I was having with people from all over the world would really kind of change the way I saw things.
That's great, man. That's really good.
Every time we go back to Europe, it's sort of the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
You end up having at least one conversation with some stranger there that's like ends up being kind of poignant somehow.
Yeah, I love that. When we go travel, we never really do like like the touristy. I mean, we might see something, but I always like to go out like to a local pub or something and just sit and talk with somebody there just to get a perspective.
For sure. It's totally different than, going to Sandals.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that is totally different. But I like that. I remember I got married in Hawaii and we just kind of eloped. And I remember my wife's not as adventurous. She's from a little tiny village in England. Like there's probably as many people as in my apartment building in the Bronx. It's my whole village. So, and I wouldn't say I'm like adventurous, but I like to go out and mingle. And we went to, so like I always find where the locals eat. So we're in Hawaii. So I went to go to this place and it was like just eating like fish they just caught with which I love. And I'm talking all, and she was horrified because she's like I said, jacket potatoes and beans, I got so much out of that just hanging out with those people. I'll never forget that. It was just a very warm, organic, like real, no one's going to put on a show. It's just like, that's why I guess I like doing these interviews, man, because musicians are so wonderful to talk to. They're so open and direct and honest for the most part. And I think that is for me, that like is very emotionally enriching when I can sort of tap into that with someone. It's like a gift. Like when I'm talking to you, you're giving me a gift, really, to be honest with you. That's what I like about this, man. So thank you. Thank you for your gift, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.
And last question, toughest decision you've had to make or most difficult thing you've had to do? And you might have talked about it already.
I guess it's, in hindsight, it's not really the toughest decision I had to make, but at the time it was one of the toughest decisions I had to make. And that was ending the band that I was in before King Buffalo to pursue King Buffalo. That was some of the most fun I've ever had playing music. But it was getting kind of obvious that we were, not really going to get beyond where we already were. Mm-hmm. We were struggling to make records. It was, our shows were really, really fun. It was amazing, but making the decision to move on from that to King Buffalo really sucked.
Yeah.
Sure. And I was, I had like lifelong friends in that band that I'd known since childhood that, it definitely took our relationship took a hit after that. It sucked.
They never got over it?
We eventually did, and we're cool now. But there was
cool.
definitely a time. There was some period of time where it was, a little awkward. So that was really difficult. Which I guess in the grand scheme of things is pretty good.
It is right. Yeah. Not like I was in the hospital with this disease or whatever. But yeah, man, a tough decision is a tough decision. I get it, and a lot of people have had to make that decision. It's tough. And I'm glad you made it because you're a great band and you seem super happy. And I love your work ethic, man. I love your playing. And let me tell people what you got going on. Okay, so first of all, the band is King Buffalo. Go to the website, kingbuffalo.com, just like it's spelled. If you want to buy what I would encourage you to do is stream the music, unless you just want to go buy it directly. And if you want a good place to start, my personal favorite record is Longing to Be the Mountain. That came out in 2018. Like the whole record is 5 stars, as is Repeater, the EP. Songs, the title song, Longing to Be the Mountain, is great. Quickening is great, and Centurion on Repeater is great. Living Ghosts on that. What was that, like a single? No, never mind. That's not you. No, no. Sorry, that's not you. Never mind. There's another band with the words King and Buffalo, and it's long story. Anyway, anyway, Longing to Be the Mountain's a great record, as is Repeater. Check them out. And if you want to buy the records, which I would really appreciate you do to support the band, go to kingbuffalo.com and send them in a note that you'd like to have them autograph the whether it's vinyl or CD, and they'll do it. And you could, I guess, message Sean on Instagram. His ID is Uranium Jesus. So just friend him on there, and then you can message him. Also, The band has a new EP coming out. Go to kingbuffalo.com, sign up to get on their newsletter list, and this way you'll get notified when the new record comes out. They also have a spring tour coming out. They'll be touring around the Great Lakes, and it's a pretty big West Coast tour where they're headlining. Do you guys post that either on social media, Sean, or on anywhere, or is it on the website?
It'll be on the website. There should be, by the time this comes out, there should be maybe a blog or two that posts about it. It'll be on all the social media platforms. So if you want to find it, it should be easy to find. Yeah,
right. And also, King Buffalo has a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter page. I would like everybody to go and like that and follow the band. Also, if you dig how the band sounds, Sean was the mix engineer on most of those records. Hit him up again on Instagram at Uranium Jesus if you're looking for some help for mixing your own records. Just leave him a message don't just say, hey man, I want to hire you to be on mixers. Just tell him what you got going on about your project so he can at least know you're legit. And that's it. Anything else I missed or anything else you want to promote?
No, I think that's it. Looking forward to getting this new EP out and, playing some shows in the spring, and hope to see anyone listening to this interview there. If you listen to this interview and come to the show, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Are you ever down here? Do you ever tour here?
We've never been to Florida.
It's a tough state to tour.
Yeah, because it's so kind of out of the way. We would love to get there sometime. We're never going to say no, that we'll never play there. It's just logistically, it can be difficult.
And there's not like tons of venues. It's not like you can go down the coast and hit 5 venues and then up the West Coast and hit 3 or 4. They're really spread out. I totally get it, man.
I have heard that there is a growing sort of like psychedelic rock scene going on in Florida. But I don't know much details about it.
Well, a lot of bands play here. I live in Tampa, in Ybor City.
Okay.
It's YBOR. There's a ton of bands that play. They're all genre. In fact, you know who's playing here soon? Do you know Sepultura?
Oh, yeah.
I had Andreas on the show. Great guy. But they're playing here. And you mentioned someone else, Korn. Another good interview I did. Ray Luzier, the drummer. Oh, my God. That guy was awesome. Yeah. But, yeah, there's kind of a scene here with all sorts of non-conventional music. But I don't know. And I would imagine maybe in Miami. I don't even know if Miami, because Miami is so, like, pop oriented. I don't know, but I know it's tough for lots of bands to tour here, and they don't come for that. And it's massive, the state. You can't get through it in a day.
Yeah, that's the thing is really just being able, you got to take so much days off around it, which
you got to get paid.
Yeah.
You got to make money, man. But anyway, if you come down here, please let me know. I'd love to come see your show, man.
Yeah, we'd love to get down there, and I'd love to meet you in person.
Yeah, anybody, promoters, I'm going to make you some money on this show. Get these guys booked. God damn it. Sean, thanks very much for everything. I really appreciate it. Again, everybody, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it on your social media channels. Thanks very much to Sean McVeigh for spending time with us. Please go check out King Buffalo. Great band, hard rock, just great guitars. He gets a great sound, man, and the mixing and production of the records is very high. Look forward to the new EP. And if you're in the West Coast or on the Great Lakes, go to kingbuffalo.com and come see him and see the show, and find him on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at King Buffalo. Most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, Sean.
Yeah, thank you.